This video is for all of my newbie agents out there, or newer agents who are getting into the business and kind of looking for some direction on just perhaps maybe what they should be reading or listening to in their car, perhaps on a podcast, just to fill your minds, to look for that opportunity and to grow your business. So today I'm going to go through my top 10 books that I think every new realtor needs to read when they're getting into the real estate business. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and today I am going to go through my top 10 book list with you for what I think any new realtor should really be reading when they are getting into the business. So I have collected a stack of books here, although I have noticed from my list I am missing two, including the first book I'm going to get into here. So I do apologize because I don't have it to show you. I think I might have left it at our cabin. So anyways, it's a sign. I read this book actually once a year because I find it so powerful in terms of getting your mindset right. So the book that I'm referencing now is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now the version I have was actually updated more for the 20th century. A lot of his examples within the book are from early 1900s, so we're talking like Andrew Carnegie and a lot of older examples, but my version has a lot more modern examples, people like Oprah, just as kind of people who had that mindset right. Anyways, it's worth noting that the original book was written in 1937, kind of at the end of the Great Depression there, where people had been really struggling. But what this book is actually toting is a positive mindset and to have a burning desire and focus on achieving your goals to reach a desired outcome. Now, admittedly, I don't love the title because it implies that the only use for this book is to grow rich, which if that's your goal, great. But nonetheless, the book itself really teaches about the principles of goal setting and keeping your eye on the prize. And I think if that's what you take away from this book, that it's been incredibly valuable already. And it can be about growing rich, that's great too, but it doesn't have to be the end goal. If that title rubs you wrong, just know that there are very valuable principles within this book that you can learn from. Essentially, what Hill's whole book boils down to, though, is that you must desire, believe, act, and persist. And it's just that simple. You just got to go out there and do it. So I found incredible value in that book. And I read it every year, usually early in the year, because it helps me get my mindset right and to focus on my goals for the upcoming year. Book number 2 on my list, and this will also not likely be a shocker, but it's The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by the Gary Keller of Keller Williams. And as you'll see, I've got bookmarks in it still and tabs. I've marked it through the years. And that's just because this is a solid playbook for anybody that's wanting to get into real estate and really build a business. This focuses initially about how to get business, but then as it progresses, it talks about how you can build a team around yourself and really grow your team. And it also talks a lot too about dollar per hour and really viewing things from the perspective of an entrepreneur growing a business. I have found this book incredibly useful. I actually pull it off the shelf fairly regularly and reference some ideas in it. He wrote this book quite some time ago now, I would say, and have yet to see a book outdo this one when it comes to describing how to build your real estate business. All the concepts in here are still relevant today. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I never hear anybody else talk about. Like, I don't even know how I stumbled upon it. I think it might have been like a fellow realtor that said, I found this book and it was really good. I loved it, but it's never on any recommendation list and it shocks me. But it's called Ninja Selling, and I love it because it's written by Larry Kendall if you're looking for it. What I will do, by the way, is I will link all of the books in my description below so that if you're looking to buy any of these books, you have a quick and easy link to click on to buy. But this book is great because it really teaches about the values of relational selling. So there are realtors that get into the business and they're very concerned about their next transaction. But what this teaches is building those relationships with your clients and how to just reach out and ask for business without being like super aggressive or schmoozy, really. It teaches about building business through building relationships, essentially. And it's a really good book. If you want longevity in this business, I would definitely say a good book to start with, because it teaches you those skills that you will use for many, many years to come. The next book on this list I also don't have here because I lent it out to Amy, but it's a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And it is really a book that's teaching about negotiation. So if you don't know the book, Chris Voss was a former FBI negotiator, and he negotiated a ton of like terrorist or like kidnapping situations in which people's family members were being kidnapped and treated horribly, and he would be dealing with those kidnappers to try and get the family released and released safely. And it was a very eye-opening book. And I read it because it did come recommended to me, but I was skeptical when I started reading it because I thought, like, how horrible is this gonna be if I am trying to learn skills about negotiation from somebody that's dealing with kidnap victims? But don't judge it. It was a solid book. And most surprisingly to me was that a lot of the negotiation tactics used are about building trust, and it's not about splitting the difference. It's about finding an amicable solution for everybody involved within a scenario. It's not about outwitting or outsmarting your opponent. It's about getting everybody to the same table to come to an amicable agreement and making people feel good that they are working together, essentially. It actually brought me back to when I was a newer agent in the business, and at that point I would say a lot of my negotiations had been adversarial because that's how I thought you went into it. If you were representing a buyer, you're pointing all the things out that were wrong within the home to the seller's agent, trying to get them to come down on their price, right? Or opposite, if you're a seller, you're talking about all the great features of the home and why it's worth more. And while those tactics do work, what I will say is that early in my career, I encountered a more senior agent that has been in the business for many years and has many clients that come back to him year after year. And he said we were really far apart on an offer, I think. And I remember him saying to me, Jen, how can we massage this deal so that we can work things together and make it work for all of the parties involved? And that was kind of the first time I really saw the use of that tactic. And of course, it depends on the agent you're working with and the parties too. Not everybody would respond as well to that. But in my case, I thought that was probably one of the most powerful negotiating moments I had early on in my career, because it really taught me that you don't have to see the person you're negotiating against as the enemy necessarily. Sometimes they can be your partner and you can work together to massage a deal together, which we did in that case. So his strategy worked, and I have used that strategy again and again in the business ever since, because I find the more that we try to work together to put a deal together, the better the outcome is. No surprise, another Gary Keller book has topped my list. So if you haven't heard of this one yet, it's a pretty quick and easy read, but it's called The One Thing. And yeah, if you open it, I've got it underlined in so many spots, but really it's a simple concept, but it's something that is worth a read, in that you need to focus wholeheartedly on what is important to you and putting your energy into that. Really, it essentially just teach that multitasking is kind of the enemy of progress, and it's true. If you want to get something done, you have to direct your attention and energy at it. And this book is super valuable in that it really helped me hone in on just what the income producing tasks were that were important to maintain in my business, and also what kind of tasks perhaps I could let go or have someone else help me with. It really helped me in getting direction within my business. And you're gonna find as a newer realtor that your brain is going in a million different places. Did I send that paperwork there? Did I do this here? Did I lock that home properly there? You're gonna find your mind always at capacity, just trying to remember all the things through the day. But the one thing really helps prioritize and put things into perspective. So I definitely recommend this one too. The Compound Effect is my next favorite. I love this book because it really just teaches about the value of making small changes daily that do become habit, and how you will reap the rewards from that. A lot of the time I find I will be the first to go completely crazy and change everything, and then a month later I've slipped back into old habits. But this, Darren Hardy, he talks a lot about small improvements like 1% a day and how that compounds over time to reap these huge, huge benefits. I have really put a lot of the theory in here into use in my own business. And this is another book that I like to read every year just because it's a nice, quick and easy read, but the message is so powerful. So definitely recommend this one. I'll be honest, on the next one, I did not want to read this book. This book is called The Checklist Manifesto, and I thought it was silly to read a book about checklists, but it's such a good book. So I won't even try. Well, I'll try. It's written by Atul Gawande. Sorry if I butchered that. And he's actually a surgeon, and he has done a ton for the healthcare industry, but what is important to note is that he kind of puts together processes that can be broken down into checklists so that things don't get missed. Not everything can be made into a checklist, you'll learn from this book, but there are a lot of things that can be so that we don't have to use up that mental capacity trying to remember to do anything. Similar to what I said prior on the one thing, as a realtor, your mind is going a million places at once. Getting things into a checklist so that you have that extra brain space not taking up all that capacity makes a huge difference. And it allows for systems and stuff when you're working in a team environment like I do. So really good read, definitely read it. Let me know what you think about this one because I didn't want to read it and I took so much value from it. So let me know. Okay, my next book might kind of surprise some. It's not really real estate related, but it's something I want to encourage newer agents coming into this business to really, really, really think about. So this book is called The Millionaire Next Door. And it's kind of like, what I would say is it's more just statistics about true millionaires, what they live in, what they drive, etc. And what I found most powerful about this book is that most millionaires don't look like millionaires. They are not out there flaunting their wealth. A lot of the people that are driving the fanciest of cars, are in these huge homes, they're not necessarily millionaires. They might be spending a lot of money just to maintain that lifestyle, but they're not necessarily building true wealth. True millionaires, on the other hand, according to this book, often drive F-150s, and they don't necessarily live in the fanciest or most expensive homes. And what they are very good at is saving their money. So I just want you to keep this in mind when you're becoming a new realtor. You're going to see a lot of realtors around you driving very expensive cars, wearing very expensive clothes, or having expensive handbags. I am guilty of having an expensive handbag. At the same time, I don't want you to start going out there and spending all of your money. There is a reason that people become wealthy, and I assure you it is not because they are spending their money on flashy things. True wealth is built by conserving your commission checks and using it to put towards other things that will multiply your wealth, not start taking away from your wealth, which I will get into in a book coming up. So just an interesting read though. Read it. Read it, be open to it, think, okay, maybe if I want to be a millionaire, my life should look more like this than that flashy lifestyle you might have seen. And that segues into my next book. So now you're not going to be all flashy and spend all your money on silly, frivolous things. You're going to conserve it so that you can invest it in real estate, ideally, or in other investments that will reap returns. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Oh, this book is gross. It's been probably had coffee spilled on it, but I love this book. I think this should be required reading for every kid in high school because it really teaches about the value of, in my opinion, of really delayed gratification. So say you come into a $20,000 paycheck. Do you buy a car or do you buy a house and rent that house out and then perhaps take the income from those monthly payments and let it pay for your car? Hey, very cool idea. But and I will say that Robert Kiyosaki has written a number of great books. Cash Flow Quadrant was another one of them that I really enjoyed. And it's just about building wealth and learning to live off of passive income and not active income, so that as a realtor, ideally, you don't have to work for the rest of your life until you die because you didn't buy income producing assets. So combine that with The Millionaire Next Door, get in the mindset from The Millionaire Next Door of just what true millionaires look like, and then read this one from Robert Kiyosaki just to get an idea on what the difference is between purchasing liabilities versus purchasing assets and what that can mean for you. Another book I think is a great read is The E-Myth. Revisited is the one I have. So what it teaches is that when you're running your business, there's always three parts of you that are working: the entrepreneur that's coming up with all of the ideas, the manager that's essentially handling things, and the technician that's doing like the nitty-gritty day-to-day tasks. And it really talks though about how those can be in conflict with one another and why entrepreneurship can be difficult. This book really teaches about working on your business instead of just in your business. And as you get going in real estate, you're going to find that you start getting busier and busier, but if you're not doing those tasks to work on your business, you're going to suffer later on, usually 3 months out. Or if I am busy now, I look back to what I was doing 3 months ago because that is what's making me busy now. So a great book. Highly recommend it. I would say this is a good one to get into once you've had a few months under your belt and you can kind of look at it from a more reflective perspective. So, great book though. Okay, so I admit that was already 10 books, but there was one book when I was grabbing books off my shelf here that I kept coming back to and thinking, you know what, I just gotta include this one in my list. Like, it seems so necessary, and that is Extreme Ownership. Oh, also gross. I spilled something on this one too. Anyways, it's written by 2 Navy SEALs. So again, what I was expecting to be like a very, very aggressive and a tougher read, but it was not. And what I love, love, love about this book is that it teaches you about taking ownership. Ownership of your successes, but also ownership of your failures. If something goes wrong in my team, I know it is my fault. Say somebody on my team does something wrong, I guess the popular opinion would be, why did they do that? And single them out kind of thing. But in essence, what this book is teaching you is that if that person did do something wrong on your team, what was the shortcoming on my part to really not make sure they perhaps had the proper training, or perhaps I wasn't overseeing something properly and left room for error. It really teaches that you need to take ownership of what goes wrong around you so that you can enact change too. I loved it. It's a great book for anybody wanting to run a team or look into being a leader in some capacity. I didn't talk a lot about the books on leadership today, but this would be a good place to start if you're really wanting to build a team. And that is it. Those are my 11 books. Sorry, couldn't keep it to 10. Let me know if there's any other books you think I missed here that I should read. I have a whole bookshelf full, but I'm always looking to add. I like to try and read about a book a week, so I'm always looking for new books that inspire me. Thanks again for watching today, guys. If you found this content valuable, please be sure to hit that like button below. It really helps me in determining what kind of content to come out with next. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and you'll see future content we come out with. Thanks and have a good one.